Welcome to the Third Row Tesla podcast. I have two very special guests today. We have Zac and Jesse from the Now You Know channel.
Howdy. Hi.
There they are. And then, of course, we got our Third Row crew panel. So we got Omar Kazi over there.
Boom.
And then we got Galileo Russell.
What's up?
And then we get Raj, Tesla Raj.
Hey, guys.
And we got Kristen, K10.
Hey.
And then we got Viv, Falcon Heavy.
Hey.
Hey, guys. So thanks for joining us today. We kind of keep it a little bit casual today. We're going to cover a few news topics as well, but we really just wanted to have a discussion of us community members and maybe just also ask Zac and Jesse some more questions. Like, one of the main things I really wanted to know is why Tesla for them, and how we got to this point on the podcast like this for all of us meeting together, I think is pretty epic. So you want to give us a little bit of background of how you got involved in Tesla and just why you do it?
Yeah, I mean, it started back in 2015. We started the Now You Know channel, and we were doing all sorts of, vermicomposting and making banana ice cream. And then we got our Model X in March of 2016, and we decided, hey, there's these things called superchargers, and we are supposed to be able to make it all the way to California from the East Coast. So we were like, let's just do it and not really even plan it much.
Right. And the free supercharging for the Model X, and we were like, so it'll be like the cheapest vacation ever. It probably was pretty cheap to get to San Francisco. And so part of it was to record every day and then to upload that footage that night to our editors, Brent and Bobby, waiting for the footage at home. And then they would edit it up and get it out like the next day. So it was very...
That sounds crazy.
Today, if you told me to do that, I would say, we're not going to do that. We're going to do it a much smarter way. But at the time, we just didn't know any better.
But what was cool is on the trip, like the fourth day in, we actually saw that the numbers were going up at the time for us a lot, like 50 subscribers a day or something. And before that, we were lucky to get like 1 subscriber.
We had, I think, when we started the trip, like 12 subscribers. And that's, of course, my mom and my grandmother and, like some family friends. So there was no one watching us beforehand. But when we started doing it, because, we had gotten one of the first Model X's ever. It's like 180 something. Right. So there were not a lot of Model X's out on the road, and we decided to take it for a cross country trip, and so we went all the way to San Francisco, then we went all the way up to Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, and then we went all the way across to Montreal. We went through Canada. We hit 75 superchargers, and it really was super eye-opening to do this whole trip. Especially at the time, because there just wasn't a lot of A, superchargers, and B, Tesla owners, and Tesla's out on the road at all, and especially Model X's. No one had seen a Model X, so whenever we pulled into a supercharger station and we threw the Falcon Wing doors up, everyone was just like, oh my God, it's a spaceship. They're from Back to the Future. Like, we have to go talk to these people. And those were a lot of our early subscribers, for people we were actually physically handing cards to and educating them about Tesla. And that's the nice thing, too, about the Model X, especially at the time, is that you could blow someone's mind. Yeah. Telling someone about the Model X, you could blow their mind every 20 seconds. You could just be like, it's got, it goes 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. They're just like, whoa, no way. And you're like, yeah, oh, and it's fully electric. And they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, you plug it in. And they're like, oh my gosh, no way. And so then you're like, so there isn't an engine in it, so you don't have to pay for gas. And they're like, wait, what? And you're like, right, because it's electric. And they're like, oh, and then, the air suspension and the, all of the different aspects of the car, they were just, people got really excited about.
But I mean, that was eye-opening because we realized there's so few people in the world outside of our bubble who actually know about the cars. And even to this day, like, we still think, oh, well, now everyone knows. But they don't. Like, when the Cybertruck came out, I thought, of course, #1 story, everyone's got to know. You ask most people in America, they might have heard of it or maybe seen a quick picture, but they don't know much about it.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's how we started the channel.
2016 to now is like 5,000 years in Tesla time.
I know. It feels like it, especially since we've been doing the show every week.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, and when we were out, we would talk to other Tesla drivers out on the road, and it was always all this gossip about like, oh, what's Elon doing now? What's he going to be like? Oh, I heard about autopilot. And we had autopilot, and we were like showing it off, telling people about it. And they were just like, wow, that's amazing, because all the Teslas before that didn't have autopilot, so it was the first time. And so we always called it Tesla time whenever we showed up at a supercharger. And so that's where Tesla time news comes from, because we wanted to have a news show that was kind of like, you know,
being at a supercharger with your friends,
with all your friends, all the Tesla owners or people who were interested in Tesla, because people would come over and we would talk to them. But that was Tesla time. While you're waiting for your car to supercharge, you'd be talking about whatever the latest and greatest was. So that's why we did Tesla time news as that kind of virtual way. And here we are doing another Tesla time kind of sort of thing. You know, like
I love it.
It's a very.
This is kind of interesting, yeah. So, you know, Sofian was talking about why Tesla, and we've seen a lot of kind of sentiment, especially in the past year, from people who are shorting the stock or just hate Tesla for whatever reason. And, you know, a lot of the sentiment we hear, a lot of negativity directed towards, you know, people in this Skype call are, you know, things along the lines of, oh, these people are being paid by Elon, they're paid by Tesla, this is, you know, some type of corporate propaganda to mask, you know, this huge fraud. And, you know, they're counting on these influencers to basically, you know, lie about the company. You know, that's kind of what people will say. So we kind of wanted to talk about, you know, why is it that all of us have produced Tesla content in one way or another, right? You know, Gali has Hyperchange, Raj, you know, does his Tesla Raj thing. And, you know, that's kind of like the discussion topic, is why Tesla. And it's kind of similar how a lot of the early owners will kind of go through the exact same thing. Like Sofian, you were one of the first Model S owners, right? And I was one of the first Model 3 owners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here. We all see in the media this, like, you know, there's a imbalance of the actual reality, the news, what's out there, and then when we have this experience, we have the product, we're using it every day. We understand, like, the software updates, we're getting the latest and greatest. So I mean, we're in the prime position to share that information with everybody. But then we see this false narrative out there which doesn't match what we're actually experiencing and seeing firsthand. So I think it's like irresponsible in a way as a Tesla owner if you don't share that, because, you know, we are there's no one else doing it. Tesla doesn't pay for advertising, so I feel compelled, but also it's passionate. I really love it. And I feel like if someone isn't getting that experience, you're shortchanging them. If they don't know that they can have that much fun and it be that, like, cheap to do it, because, like, electricity is way cheaper than gas and cleaner. I mean, there's so many positives that just people don't know about, and there's only a few people pushing this false narrative, but a lot of them are talking. So that's why I felt compelled to start this podcast as well. It's like, we need to get some more positive news out there that actually reflects reality in Tesla, with the community members, that everybody knows we're real people, and Tesla doesn't pay us. You know, we just do it because we love it.
And I think that when we started, it wasn't even the negativity around Tesla wasn't even that bad. It was so small. The Tesla as a company was so small that it was just the unheard of kind of idea. And so where we were coming from initially was just like, hey, have you heard about this? Look at this. Check this out. Wow. And a lot of people were very positive about that, especially in the beginning, because they hadn't had any of this sort of pre-narrative where they had some, like, a quick, you know, guidebook of, like, if someone says that they like Tesla, say this, say that, say this, and say this, and they will go away because they're so sick of you. There wasn't any of that before. I mean, I remember we were at an EV event up in Maine, and we had, I think, 3 or 5 Model X's all lined up with the doors open. And from very far away, you just heard, like, wow! Oh my goodness! And this guy comes running out of the woods, and he's just like, "What is this? What is this?" And we're like, "Oh, this is the Tesla Model X." He's like, "Oh my God, Tesla! Who makes it?" We're like, "Tesla." And they're like, "No, what's the company?" And we're like, "It's Tesla. That's the name of it." And I will never forget that, because it was so.
Yeah, you gave him a test drive, which I think probably to this day is probably one of the best moments of his life or something.
He wouldn't
like,
stop saying
he
wow.
hugged you,
and so that experience in the beginning especially was so powerful, to be like, wow, these people who've never seen or heard of it or anything like that, it's so exciting enough to get a guy, he was probably in his 50s. It looked like it was Christmas Day, and when he was 8 years old getting, whatever it was he wanted for Christmas. It was so excited. And that kind of energy is something that you can get to. It's just the problem is that there's been all of this negativity. And that's exactly why you're fighting for this, is because like you're trying to get people off of this false idea of what Tesla is or what they're trying to do, and all of these lies to get to the root of it, which is this really exciting and positive experience.
So it's funny. Most of us had a product experience, but I'm curious about Gali and Viv, the two people here who don't have a Tesla. So how did you kind of get into the whole, Tesla thing?
I'm not a car person, so I got into this whole Tesla thing through SpaceX, actually, because I was looking up Elon Musk and like, who's this guy? What is he doing? And then obviously I stumbled across Tesla, and I was like, wow, this is everything I always wanted in a car. Because I've always been into tech and into gadgets and into Apple, for example. And, cars, I mean, we all know that the competitors out there, they're not really... You don't have the screen, for example. You don't have the software that's as advanced as it is in a Tesla. And I don't know, like I just fell in love with it the first time I saw it. And the deeper I dug into it, I was like, wow, okay, what's going on? Why is this narrative so false in the media? Why are they constantly shitting on Tesla? And that's also what kind of led me into being more active on Twitter. I mean, I was active on Twitter before, but I wasn't like speaking up against it because I was like, hey, what's the point of it? Why being so miserable all the time? And then I was like, okay, but I have to do something.
Just wanted to say that Zac and Jesse actually featured your Cybertruck spec ad in one of their
I saw that
one of their episodes.
I was like,
it was actually on a Patreon bonus special. So it was awesome though. I mean, like, this is the thing, is like no one is actually telling you do this, Viv. It's like you're just so like inspired by what's going on out there, and I think you used all of Tesla's own footage, so it wasn't even like, you didn't even do anything to go out and get extra
like
stuff.
The only footage I actually used for the Cybertruck video was this short 30-second video or something that I posted on YouTube. So I cut it up and added some text and made the ad.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, that was really great.
800,000+ views or something on Twitter. 800 plus.
Yeah, but because Elon retweeted it, and I was like, holy shit.
Well,
the thing is, the first,
yeah,
but the first time I saw it, I was like, oh my god, it got caught up in some Russian spam bot network or something. Because it was getting like so many likes and retweets, I was like, holy shit, not the Russians again. And and then I saw it and I was like, holy shit, he retweeted it. I mean, he liked stuff
it's your
of mine
first
before,
retweet,
and
right?
he replied. Yeah, actually, that was the first retweet, and I was like, holy shit. He just shared this video that I made in like one night with his, I don't know how many followers does he have, like 30 million or something?
30.1.
Holy shit.
Yeah, crazy.
Holy shit. Like, wow.
Yeah, you make great videos though, so
amazing.
Thank you.
I think the one thing that, for all of us that we've kind of mentioned multiple times is, each one of us is hitting something different, and we're doing that because there's no script to this, right? It's like when you go and watch other car advertisements, to be honest, if you take away the footage, they all sound the same, right? Other than putting in the brand name. And because Tesla's not dictating that, it allows each and every one of us, I'm looking at all of you guys on the screen, to have your own individual say. And I think that's really important because it's genuine, right? So people who actually take the time to listen, each person's going to be different, right? Like the way Zac and Jesse, make their content and how they present it. It's different, but somebody should look at each one of us as being like, that's that person's genuine interaction and experience with the product and how they really feel. No one's pushing that on them, right? Tesla's not saying anything. They're just launching great products and awesome stuff, and we're like trying to express how we feel about it. So it's really weird to see people take it the wrong way or look at it really negatively when I think it's the most genuine company that's out there. It's just trying to do great stuff.
Yeah, and there's so much to say about it too. I mean, that's why we all can be talking about it and not be saying the exact same thing.
Right.
And people can't get enough. They just want the Tesla content, all of it,
Yeah.
Exactly. So Gali, coming back to you about your experience with, because you don't have a Tesla yet. Well, actually, maybe you might get that subscription Tesla we were talking about in our last podcast.
I mean, for me, it was really just the mission. Like, I've always been fascinated by climate change and like how we actually solve that problem, and always kind of thought technology and like products that get consumers excited are like a great way to make real change. And so when I found Tesla, their business model, I remember I had a call with their investor relations guy way back in like 2012, and I was like, the first thing I said was like, okay, like what's your kind of vision for the company? And like it took me weeks to get through to him, and he was like, we're going to be bigger than Ford, and we want to be the biggest company in America. And this is like when they just started selling the Model S, and it was like a $3 billion company, and I was like, wow, like this has the potential to be like one of the fastest growing companies ever. Like just from a business case study perspective, like so fascinating. And like literally I think it's one of the fastest growing companies of all time, and they build their own products vertically integrated. So just from like a business fascination investment standpoint, I was like, wow. And not only is it like one of the fastest growing tech companies in the world, but they're actually doing something good that the world desperately needs solved. And so ever since then, like I kind of been going further and further down the Tesla rabbit hole as I'm
And your dad has a Tesla too, right?
My dad just got a Tesla after years
Congrats.
of me convincing him. Literally years. Like
Nice job, Gali.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's kind of a crazy story with Gali, because, you know, when I first started seeing Gali's video, all the analysts on Tesla were like, this stock is a piece of shit, it's overvalued, the balance sheet is just trash. And Gali is just coming out with these videos that just, frankly, when you look at what happened, just beat every Wall Street analyst making a six-figure salary. Like, he's actually getting into the in-depth technical details of what's going on with this company, why is it valuable, what's the competitive advantage. And, like, you look at notes from other analysts, they're just brain dead, you know? They're not getting into the tech.
Can I just say, when you see Gali on a show like CNBC holding his own against all these guys that do this every day, and he's just whipping out the freaking, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, if I were on the show right now, I'd be like, oh, where's my notes?
I'd be crying.
Yeah,
Gali's so good, so composed.
He's
man.
so good.
When you schooled Mark Spiegel,
oh my God,
just
that
like,
was so great.
Oh my! I've never seen anyone look more like an idiot than Mark Spiegel sitting there, just being like, well, but it's not the sad side. But if you look at this one thing, then it looks bad. And you were just spitting out facts. It was insane. So yeah, I think that was the first time I had actually seen you, Gali, ever. Like at all. And that was a good first impression, because I was like, wow, like he's saying all the things that I've been thinking, and he's saying them 8 times faster than I can say them. I was like, that's insane. This kid's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy how much of like an underdog story this all is. Like just to see Tesla like this week, the stock price kind of go up, I felt was like a big like moment for, not that we care that much about the stock price, but just to see Tesla as a company really like succeed and take the next step forward. I feel like it's been an awesome week.
Yes, it has.
Because like we all saw how much hate there has been for years. Like everyone, all my friends, like the whole media just telling us we're wrong and crazy and like it's not going to work. So I feel like it's been kind of a turning point.
Yeah. It's all how you look at it, right? I think, you know, Gali offered a completely different way to look at the numbers. Some people do look at it that way, but some people are just very, my text message to my dad yesterday, who is just not a Tesla believer, or he wants to get 10% profit on all his stocks and then he sells, which is, I don't know what he's doing. In any case, I sent him over the same message that I tweeted, which was, you know, in May, if you had put 25K into Tesla, which is, you can't buy a Tesla for 25K, today you'd be at 60K. And it's not about trying to make money off of Tesla, but it's trying to understand more about the company and what they're doing, because you're investing in the company, right? Like, I get it. Some people are, I'm trying to get rich, but I think that's what, that's how Gali was looking at it. And it's been great.
And then I was just wanting to mention, because on our last podcast, we talked a few things about what we thought was coming down the pike. And it seemed like, it was almost like we were either like working with Tesla or something, because everything seemed to just like roll off from our podcast. Like Kristen, for example. Remember, what did you say, Kristen, last week?
I said, if if you could purchase horsepower, you know, people would probably purchase extra horsepower.
What did we get? Like literally yesterday.
Kristen said that, I kind of rolled my eyes like when she said purchase extra acceleration. I was like, come on, that's not going to happen. Then like less than a week later, they're like, acceleration boost, you can purchase this. And then what was the other things?
I would have thought that it would have been like 5 horsepower,
Right.
or like 10 horsepower, because there are guys who will go out and buy some expensive part to throw in their car just to get, you know, squeeze a few more horsepower out of their engine. But to get
50?
like 50, 60 kilowatts, that's
And 50 horsepower.
it was like
Yeah.
80 horsepower.
If you add the two, yeah.
The guys from ARC actually did an analysis and determined it would have cost about $4,000 just in terms of installation and labor cost to do the same thing to a ICE car. So
Yeah.
And so how much labor did it cost Tesla in doing that? They sent it over the air. Basically, you got it in a few minutes, and then you go out and drive. Like my friend, his name's Tesla Pin on Twitter. A shout out to him. I told him about it. We actually went for a lunch drive, and I kind of created the platform because I let him drive my car, which is a performance Model 3. So he was like, I really want more power now. And then I told him, look, dude, this is coming out. You should check it out. And he literally updated that like yesterday, and he made some videos about it. So, I mean, people are excited. And that for Tesla, that's like 100% profit right there.
Yeah, we got so many emails,
You know?
people asking us, should I spend $2,000 to upgrade or should I spend $2,000 on the stock? And I'm like, either way. Like, I would do stock personally, but either way.
Depends on what you want.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
So what's the point for those like Tesla experts like who actually have cars? What's the point of this upgrade? Like I was kind of wondering like why would I pay $2,000 for like slightly more power? Is it just
It's so you can
It's the
take it
fun
from
factor.
here to here. Like it's not much. I'll be honest. Like
You don't
Half
need
a
it.
second.
well, and I think for the
Yeah,
people
half a
who
second.
buy performance Model 3s, it's a bargain compared to like a fully kitted out performance Model S. And to get anywhere closer to that Model S, which you know is the best, the top highest end of the line, doesn't get any better than this, you know, I think is a big it's a big deal. And once you already have the car and you know you've settled into the rhythm of either the car payments, or I don't know if you pay it straight cash or whatever loans you know lease, whatever you do, coming up with a $2,000 is like a fun thing where you can just be like, oh, okay, either I'll start saving or I won't buy that thing that I was going to get, or I guess, you know, we'll push off having kids for another month or whatever, you know, like whatever the idea would be.
I think, Gally, also to answer your question, you know, if you look at the all-wheel drive and you look at the comparison in price to a performance, you're looking at about an 8K difference. And so, yeah, you get the Brembo brakes and, you know, the bigger wheels and what else do you get? I don't know, a couple other things, a spoiler and stuff like that. But if you're just like, I just want to be faster, I want to be it's not the same speed as a performance, but it's getting pretty closer. It's a cheaper option to do.
Right.
And it's definitely noticeable because half a second,
Half a
0 to
second.
60 in half a second quicker is noticeable. I mean, like anyone taking out a car, you're going to like feel it. And it's just going to make the car that much more enjoyable because Elon's always said that a Tesla is meant to be the most fun thing ever, right? So why not make it more fun?
Yeah, I think there's actually a lot to dig into here with this acceleration boost. It's really interesting, like the more you think about it. And I mean, let me just start by saying I've refused to drive in a performance Model 3. I have a long-range rear-wheel drive.
He
I
wouldn't
have
drive
friends
my
with
car.
performances. I don't get in because I know if I get in, I'm going to want that performance. And I'm trying to hit the 2-year mark before I get another car, maybe after some of this robotaxi stuff. But digging into the acceleration boost, you know, it's really interesting. People have been, I mean, Tesla's been giving us a little acceleration boost for free. We just got a little acceleration boost for free. And when I got that a few weeks ago, I said, oh man, this is great. You know, I love this little acceleration boost. It's awesome. And people have just been kind of accepting that, you know, they're going to get an acceleration boost or a range boost for free. But, you know, Tesla kind of proved that, hey, we've been giving you these acceleration boosts for free, but if we charge $2,000 for this, people will line up and they'll pay for, you know, half a second. And it's going to cost us nothing. It's worth $2,000 to them. and it's, you know, just a pure gross margin opportunity, right?
Do you think this was a plan all along, or do you think that this is something they've just figured out in real time? Because part of me wants to believe that Elon's a fox and he just knew it all along. He's like, don't give them 100% motors right away. Give them 70% motors, and then we'll do this thing. Or do you think they've just been like, an engineer walks in the room and is like, hey, Elon, I figured out how to make it 10% more power.
We forgot to switch on half the coils. I mean, how do you get that much more power? I don't understand. Where to come from? I have to imagine or hope that they were doing it intentionally, because otherwise they figured out to what? I don't know.
What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's intentional. I mean, Elon's made his money on software through the years. I mean, how would he not think this through?
Right, and he got us hooked on that last update. Because I mean, when I took my car out, it was like, oh my god, I got a brand new car. This is amazing. And I think to feel like, oh, I could have just a little more. It's a very addicting kind of feeling. And I feel like they could keep rolling that out. I don't know how much in reserve power they have. But how crazy is that? That he could have, at the time of Model 3 rolling out, if, let's say, they knew that they had this much reserve power, or that maybe they knew, I mean, maybe it's that they knew that they had to do some work, but that they would... that they wouldn't roll out the most powerful version of the Performance Model 3 at that time. that was good enough. They were like, yeah.
I've heard some people saying this on Twitter, like, oh, you know, they've always been able to accelerate that fast, but it's all, you know, a conspiracy. So I think that, you know, it's clear that the design is a trade-off, right? You're trading off behind multiple things. You could have the acceleration go to max, but, you know, then you'd maybe wear the car out faster. You'd get less range, right? So, you know, there's a trade-off between acceleration and range. And I think that's really the big operative factor here is you see the Model 3 dual motor just increased to 322 miles of range. So... you know, obviously they made some code changes to make the whole vehicle more efficient. They had some new ideas. And if they had included it standard in the car, the 3.9 second acceleration, the range would have gone down. So the EPA rating would have been less than 322. But by making it a $2,000 upgrade, they get the 322 max range EPA rating, and you can also buy the acceleration. And, you know, it differentiates itself from performance, right? Like, for more money with the performance, just in terms of a product marketing perspective, you have to make the performance a lot better to justify the higher price. So 4.4 seconds, you know, 3.2 seconds, that 1.2 seconds, that's good enough to justify the price difference. And having that, you know, kind of extra acceleration as an add-on also makes the performance look better, because if they had just given you the acceleration for free, more people would have chosen dual motor rather than performance. They would have said, 3.9, 3.2, what's the difference, right? But now it kind of, there's a lot of smart things about it. They get to do a higher range, and higher range should be the default. That's what most people need, is more range. But then they have more acceleration as an option. It differentiates it. I mean, there's a lot of really, really interesting things here. You just think like, okay, and this is the big idea we were getting on last week's podcast, is they can sell us stuff after we buy the car. Different software. So what are they going to think of next? Green was kind of hinting at this. He's like, there's going to be a lot more upgrades coming. I saw it, and get your wallets ready. Like, there's going to be a lot of stuff. Like that upgrade tab, you know, when you open it, there's like the one upgrade at the top. So it's like, what other kind of they could sell maybe $50. Your car will sing and dance, you know? Like, why not? Like, they could sell all these things. And as Tesla's user base gets better, it's just going to be more material to earnings.
What we see a lot of is, and now being, four cars in, is that they don't have to put all their cards out everyone knows now that the Tesla gets better. And so here, we'll give it for free. And then now seeing that we've hooked people, I always bring up this example. I'd be curious to see what you guys think about it, is that, as far as the interior on the Tesla, it's okay. I mean, you can go to some higher end cars and have some really luxurious insides where it's like massaging your back and so forth. But Tesla said, hey, you know what? We'll make a good interior. It's not bad, but it's not amazing. But we'll focus on the tech and the technology and the battery and the performance and all of that, because that's what's going to hook the customer. Because now, if you talk to most Tesla customers, they're not. I'll tell you one thing. I may end up in a divorce on this, but I'm not going to go back to an ICE vehicle. My next car is going to be a Tesla, and so they can say, hey, you know what? We'll figure out the interior later. Same thing with like this kind of stuff is like, hey, we've got them, not in a deceitful way, but like we got them, and we've got them, acquainted to like, hey, you get these awesome upgrades, and it's going to make it better. And now let's just charge a little bit. Let's see how it takes. And like, yeah, people are all about it, and that's another whole avenue of revenue, just like you guys were talking about last week with SaaS and stuff like that.
So I was just curious, talking about these updates and getting us hooked, and we saw actually Elon replied to me yesterday, or I think it was last night. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he did.
It was a bit of a early Christmas present, but
yes.
I had asked if we could, maybe one of us on the podcast could get it so that we could talk about it, and then he had replied with that it's going to early access. Well, actually, what did he say? It's in validation right now, right?
Needs a few more days of validation, then early access, then wide release. Yeah.
Christmas.
Right.
Wait, before we go to autopilot, I want to make one comment on Raj's interior comment, because I hear people saying this a lot, like, I need a luxury interior with rich Corinthian leather in my BMW. And I mean, you do hear people say this a lot, right? Because if you're a BMW or a Mercedes customer, Tesla's kind of in the same competitive segment, but they have this very minimalist interior, and I think it's not like, oh, it's better, but like it's all considered together, right? Like Tesla wants to maximize range, and part of that is having a minimalist, light interior, right? So there's not a bunch of extra junk, right? They just have glass all over, right? And you're just immersed in the surroundings. And, do you want to be in some BMW with a really nice interior that's, kind of shitty? It's got, your kid's French fries there, and there's dust all over the place. And you want to be in your car, staring at the interior or, the outside world. I think it's people say, okay, well, it's a great car, but the interior is more minimalist or more plain. But I think the range, the acceleration, all these things, like they kind of go hand in hand with the fact that there's not much inside the car, Well,
and the screen too. I mean, the screen is a huge consideration when you're talking about the interior, because it's all about the screen, and the screen can do so much more than any other car. I mean, no other car will let you necessarily watch YouTube. I think there is some like Android Play stuff. I have been keeping up because I've been just messing around with my Tesla. But no other car has a bigger screen except maybe the Byton, which again I haven't seen on the road yet. But that in itself, that whole concept of like we're going for a completely different style instead of there being all of these luxurious buttons and knobs. I drove the i3 for a while. My grandmother had it, and she'd go down to Florida, so I get to drive it. And the knobs and the way you control it, it's with this knob, and you can write on the knob with your finger, and half the time it'll recognize the letter. And it was just like you're trying to search for an address, and it's just what? That's not luxurious to me. Like that's antiquated. That's like a dial, it's a rotary telephone, which may have looked really nice, but it is absolutely nowhere close to this. And this is the Tesla screen right here. Like it's the exact same thing. Instead of having knobs and buttons and dials, like even the BlackBerry, we're like, oh well, I have to have my BlackBerry. We all said that. I don't want a touch screen. It'll get dirty. Same thing here. It's the screen. It's that interior, and that's the difference in the interior. But all the BMW people can't let that go. And Tesla Raj, I have no idea what you drove before this, so I'm not picking on you or anything like that. Volkswagen. So say close enough. Buttons and knobs, and it's very nice to push the buttons. I don't know. It's that kind of thing. It's such a different experience being in the Tesla.
Well, it was kind of like, I mean, when we removed the keyboard, or when Apple removed the keyboard, right? Everyone's like, oh, what the heck? How can you use a phone without a keyboard? And like, now look, like how many people have a keyboard on their device, right? So I think this is Tesla driving forward with that, is like, hey, this is the way the future is going to be. And so now you'll see, right? Like, I think, who is it? Ford, and their attempt. I don't want to say anymore. Their attempt, it was a valid attempt, but you know, big screen, very minimal, and trying to be in the same. I think a lot of people are going to go that route.
Right, but they still had to stick that knob on there.
I think it's so funny how the legacy automakers have this misconception about what exactly it is about the Tesla. Like, so everyone's trying to copy this now, the kind of whole screen car interface, but they see the Tesla screen and they go, oh, well, you know what? We're going to put a bigger screen. We're going to put screens all over the place. We're going to have 5 screens. And it's like, okay, the idea isn't that it's a screen. It's that the software on the screen is good, right? And you look at like Volkswagen, there was news this week that the ID3 is going to be delayed 6 months because they made 20,000 cars and the software doesn't work on those cars. And they didn't finish the over-the-air update code before they made the cars. So for the next 6 months, engineers are going to be going in, plugging in their computer, and manually updating the software on 20,000 cars. And it's like, using an automaker software is like, you know, trying to wear shoes that, you know, a McDonald's employee made you, or, you know, trying to read a book, you know, written by a plumber, or, you know, or something like that. It's just like, you want to get your software from software people, and Tesla has software engineers that are good making their cars, and nobody else does.
One thing I wanted to point out is that Tesla's ahead with the vegan leather. It's the minimalism, sustainable energy, sustainable for the environment. It's 10 years ahead of where everyone's going to be. I mean, you don't want mass consumerism inside a car as well. I like that it's like that, because I see the auto industry moving that direction in about 10 years. We're trying to produce less for the earth, you know?
Yeah. Love
if
the
they're
interior.
still there in 10 years.
Exactly. Yeah, probably. People have to be gaudy. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, just coming back to the screen in the car as well, I mean, yeah, I love that vegan interior, especially being vegan myself, so it's a bit biased. But, I mean, this car is being set up for autonomous driving. There's no doubt. I mean, do you want to be pressing all these buttons when you're inside an autonomous driving car? No, you don't want to mess it up, right? The car's going to be doing all the work for you. You want to be using that screen for all the things that, you know, you get your life back and you can watch a movie or something, or, you know, interact with, you can make a video call. I mean, there's so many possibilities of what that screen can be with the right software, right?
Netflix marathon continuing in your car.
I can't wait until they enable that while you're driving. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Exactly.
So
While it's driving, yeah.
Speaking of driving, can I just ask you guys, since we got so many smart people here, full self-driving sneak preview, what the heck does that mean? Okay, cool. What does it mean?
I think that Sofian got a little clarification. I think that what Elon meant is that it's going to go to early access first. I think that's what he meant by sneak peek.
Yeah,
okay.
But what does sneak preview actually mean, I think, is your question, right?
Right.
What are we going to get?
Right.
So maybe we start with Viv, and we'll go around, and everyone can let us know what they think about it. Viv, you want to let us know?
I think it's just going to be like some more visualization that you can actually see what the car sees. Like, not just what we see right now with, you know, like just the little cars. Maybe we can see like a whole 360 degree or something, like just like at least 10 levels up in visualization. I think Green actually hinted at something, that he found like some images or something in the source code. I think that's just going to be a level up. I don't think it's necessarily going to be more autonomous. Like Elon said, it's a sneak preview, but I think we're going to get a glimpse at what FSD is going to be like in the future, or like at least in the near future. So yeah.
Thank you, Viv. Kristen, you want to go next?
It's not going to be a video where you watch another car just driving. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be.
That'd be cruel.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be a 20-minute test. I don't know. Maybe the inside camera will be accessed. I really don't know.
Ooh. Yeah. Cool. Raj, what do you think, man?
Man, I've been really thinking about it, and it's like I I don't think they'll be able to give like a little like mini test. At first I thought that makes sense, but I was like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Like here, you can full self-drive down the street and then now you can't get it anymore.
Yeah.
I just Elon,
They
he's
give it and
al-
they take it.
yeah, like he's always a little tricky with what he's saying, and so I think one thing, of course, people are gonna misconstrue it. They're gonna think like, yeah, I'm gonna go from level 2 to level 5. I'm just gonna be able to sleep. Like, no, I think it's about seeing the next phase. And what have we been being teased about? We've all seen, stoplight, and stop sign, but it doesn't actually do anything. I think, Omar, you ran a couple stop signs, right? On your test.
Oh, I've been running a lot of stop signs for science.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm just wondering
Allegedly.
if like the technology is there and it's just been just like really like putting in those last, finishing touches. And so I think we might get the car being able to do, local roads, which I know some of us have done, but like now just the ability to do local roads and stop sign and stop light. And I think just right there. I don't think turning yet, but yeah, I still keep trying to do a left turn and end up and like correcting because I saw somebody post a video. I think Eli posted a video of it doing a left turn, but I've
Traffic light,
never
yeah.
experienced that. So
Why is it so hard for it to do a left turn? If
I think it
someone
needs to
wants
see the lane
explain
markings.
F5.
There has to be lane markings. If there are lane markings going through the left turn, it'll see it. Yeah, totally. It's good with that. But yeah, it also depends on what software version you have, and also like how much have you used autopilot and trained your neural net, all those sort of things. It depends. But yeah, in terms of what I think it is, I mean, maybe it's just because I'm really optimistic. I was thinking maybe it could have all the features of recognizing stop signs, doing turns, all those things, but you'd just be required to have your hands on the wheel, like the nag that is today with the autopilot. I mean, why not? I mean, it's been in this version, this branch of code that's been running in Elon's own personal car that he's been trying out. It just requires intervention. So why wouldn't they just provide that to early access? It just seems like a logical kind of thing. But
wouldn't
the
that
keyword
be feature
preview,
complete already?
yeah, I mean,
So-
maybe it would be, but
But that
the
wouldn't
word
be a sneak
preview
preview
doesn't
anymore.
match that.
If
Yeah,
it would
exactly.
be feature complete, it wouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. I would drive it with that. I would test it out every day, and they get valuable data. And then coming back to the data, I think we've been talking about like, Tesla gets all this data from all of their systems, like in autopilot mode, when they do summon, all this sort of stuff. So they have the expertise to process this data. The sooner they can get the data, the better. So if it's something that we can help with, for sure. So what do you think, Gali?
I think it's going to be kind of like what Raj was saying, where it's a little incremental. And I keep thinking back to the Autonomy Investor Day demo we did, where it stopped at stop signs, and it did a left into oncoming traffic at like a 4-way stop sign. Although there wasn't many cars, but it still did it perfectly. So I think it's just going to kind of be like, how autopilot works on city streets now sometimes? Like it'll just work more reliably, and they'll kind of make that official and then start to recognize the stoplights and stop signs. But I think it's incredible how it's kind of like been creeping up on us. I feel like all these features in the past year, and now like the Tesla is so good, you're not really surprised when you drive it, but it's actually getting like, it does most of the work in an increasing amount of situations where it's just really taking over and driving itself. So I think once you take a step back, it'll be a huge step, but incrementally it may not seem like something crazy.
Yali, you brought up actually a good point, is that if they do that, and now let's just say we're able to now turn it on, let's say, 70 to 80% on local roads, more data for them to pull in, and then more data to make that fully autonomous day come sooner and closer.
Nice.
Cool.
Totally.
Omar, what do you think?
So, I think people think about this completely wrong, People are like, when is full self-driving coming? Or, when, they think there's going to be this moment where it's like, well, here it is. And it's like, it's here. Like, I use it every day. I use it on surface streets. I have for a long time. I use it on the freeway. And it's just been getting better and better, especially these last few updates, the adjacent lane, the faster lane changes. These updates are just incredible. Yesterday, I went to go see Star Wars at like 10 o'clock, which, by the way, was like, very cheesy. It was kind of like, this doesn't make any sense. Like they're like running on top of a spaceship. The spaceship's like exploding, and there's all these bullets, and no one's getting
Good
hurt.
thing you're
It's just
3,000
like,
miles away, dude.
No, I'm not. I would never fight. No, I could see
Wait a
where you're coming
minute.
from on that.
How are they-
Let's talk more about Star Wars for a second here.
Yeah. Well, actually, now that
thought
I
it
think
was
about it,
okay,
how are they
but-
breathing in space? But anyway, getting sidetracked a little. So I had to go see. I mean, this is just another day in a Tesla owner's life. I had to go see Star Wars, so I had to go pick up my friend, and I get in the car. Put it on autopilot. It's going through LA rush hour traffic, weaving through people. Trucks are cutting in front of me. Cars are cutting in front of me. Zero disengagements. I pick up my friend.
Wow.
We're like, all right, let's go get some dinner before we go to the thing. Okay, we hit the navigation button. We hit I'm feeling hungry. It gives us a restaurant suggestion. And no, hit I'm feeling hungry again. We do it a few times. Okay, this restaurant looks good. We click the browser button. The menu for the restaurant pops up on the Tesla touchscreen. We're like, okay, I could eat that. I could eat that. Hit the X button. We hit the navigation button. And the car just starts driving us there. On the freeway, right? It goes, and it's taking us to this restaurant that it picked for us, right? And, I can't explain to you, it's really good. The adjacent lane speed thing, we were, in traffic. The lane next to us was slowing down. It slowed down. It was, much safer. It's a nice, subtle little thing. And, there was zero disengagements all night. We drove, so this Star Wars thing, there was one showing left way out, in the middle of nowhere. So it was driving us out there. And I was like, I don't even know where I'm going, but this computer's taking me here. And, it can already recognize stop signs and traffic lights, and it warns you about them. I think that it's going to be able to stop, and it's going to be able to attempt to make right and left turns. And, I don't think it's going to work every time, It'll be the worst it ever is. But shipping those last two features, even in early access, will be a milestone. And after that, it's just iteration, like we've seen all year. And autopilot's just constantly blowing my mind, wow, I already thought it was good. It's constantly pushing the limit of your imagination for what software can do with a car. And it's just amazing if you've used it, seeing how much it's improved for just being this stupid little cruise control that's just constantly charging into traffic and doing all these stupid things, and just seeing it improve and improve and improve. And there's a lot of fixation on FSD. Well, I think they're going to be working on this for 10 years, which isn't just, but it's already 90% there, and we're already using it today, almost all the time. And so there's a lot of work to do. It's not going to be well, we're done with it. There's always going to be improvements to make, but we're really getting to the point where they're getting feature complete, and then it's just going to be iterate. And if you believe Elon, they're going to launch their first robotaxi ride somewhere in 2020, which I think I'm the only one who probably believes that.
No,
looking at their progress, the rate of improvement. I mean, look at what Navigate on autopilot did in 1 year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's not really it'll be a big deal seeing it stop at stoplights for the first time and make right turns for the first time. If you think about it, right turns are pretty easy, and you can get everywhere using right turns. And it's just one little update. In a long stream of updates, but it's a milestone, but it's almost a superficial milestone more than anything.
You can get anywhere taking right turns? Are you sure?
Three rights make a left.
Yeah. No,
In
so
New
think
York.
about it, right?
Maybe in LA.
Yeah. So I mean, if you look at how it kind of has to operate in terms of getting you there. It can figure out how it can get there. It has data about which streets it works on and which streets it doesn't work on. They can work around the shortcomings in the short term.
And live traffic conditions and things. It's why is it trying to get me to go this weird way? Well, it already knows there's an accident on my regular route, right? So it's amazing. The connectivity, all that stuff.
It'll be like Smart Summon when it first launched. And it's just going to keep getting better from there.
Exactly. You're going to see people making these videos look at full self-driving, just completely blowing it, and you'll see someone make a left turn, and the car's going to be making a left turn, and then all of a sudden it's going to just make a right turn and, like, people will be like, oh my God.
People
But
don't
then it'll
understand
be-
the concept of beta and that how it's improving, right? What you're talking about, Omar, is that, hey, Tesla's like, let's get it to here. This is what we feel is like good enough to release, maybe good enough to release to early access, start collecting that data and just incrementally better, right? Like, I mean, Zach and Jesse, you guys can talk about, how autopilot has gotten better. You guys have, seen what it was back then and what it is today. And that's the same thing we're going to see with Summon. It's going to be the same thing we're going to see with this, full self-driving that we're going to see, and everything leading up to, like what Omar said, might be 10 years to be completely, I'm going to go to sleep and it's going to drive me there. But the key is that it's still way ahead of anyone else in this game.
Right.
Now, I don't think that, if I had to guess what this preview is, I think that it's going to be an autonomous drive across the country. I think that is what Elon's going to go for, because if it's a preview and it's a sneak peek, to me, it just sounds like you're not going to get it, but you get to see it. And so that's my thought.
So you think the sneak preview is just like a video on YouTube? Or...
Yeah.
Like a feature, yeah.
I hope that it's not a live stream, because I think that people will figure out where it is, and then somebody is going to try and crash into it. So I hope it's not a live stream. It would be cool. In a perfect world, a live stream would be great, because then you could see it all in total. I think that it might be a short 20-minute video where they cover most of it, and then they have, a time-lapse running of the whole thing, maybe something like that. I don't know how they would release it, but that's my thought on the being conservative, maybe, because I feel like they definitely have the software to do it now. I feel like, during, the autonomy day, that they already had the software to probably do it. It's just, it was a matter of working out some kinks to make sure that there was a 99% chance of them being able to succeed, as opposed to, an 85% chance. And I think that they know that they can't release that to the public. 99% is probably not good enough for them. And so that's why I'm thinking that, like, instead of it being something that we all get to try, it's going to be something that we get to see. And that's just going to keep sparking that interest, because it's, putting out content to the media companies, even if the media is going to try and report on it negatively, a lot of the times the Tesla content tries to speak for itself. I mean, that's why they went for the sledgehammer and the steel balls with the windows. Obviously, the steel balls didn't work out so well, but, I mean, they didn't go through. That's pretty remarkable. You definitely would have gotten a big head bruise from that thing, if not a serious life-risking injury. But, to show the side-by-side comparison is, I think, what Tesla's always trying to do, and to create content that is always proving that.
Yeah. I think that I wanted to believe, like Soph, that it's going to be just this awesome upgrade, but I think that Viv is probably closer to the truth, that she thinks more like Elon. I can tell just how you tweet and stuff now. Like, you get him really well. I think that it's going to be just, he's going to show us some new features. You're going to see some stoplights, stop signs, stuff like that. But I hope Jesse's right, but I don't know.
No, I think to me it sounds pretty clear that it's a software update. Let me read these tweets again. Tesla holiday software update. Okay? Tesla holiday software update. So, okay, we're getting this, and it's going to be within the next few days. The holiday is like...
Omar, what if it's a video in the entertainment category?
Yeah, I would be very angry. But Tesla holiday software update has FSD sneak preview, Stardew Valley, Lost Backgammon, and a few other things. And then Soph messaged him, and he followed up, needs a few more days for validation, then early access, then wide release. So it sounds like software. But you did make a good point, which is that, they've had the software, right? They've had it all year. At any point this year, they could have written the code to deploy it. It's not like you've got some engineers drinking, Mountain Dew like crazy, like slamming on their keyboard like, oh my God, we got to finish this code to make the car make a left turn. It's like, no, this has been there for a while. They just haven't released it because they didn't think it was safe enough. And I think they're going to just set a deadline like, here's the date. We're going to start shipping it to early access. And early access isn't that big of a deal. They'll send it to a few people who they can trust, who are, good Tesla customers who have brains and, you know, aren't going to do anything stupid.
Also
And-
to get that feedback, right? So from those customers that they can get actual data from real cars out there. I think that's going to be the key.
Yeah. It's just supercharging the learning, really. In terms of like the code's been there for a while. It's just a matter of when they want to release it. And, you know, they've been pretty clear for a while that they wanted to get this year. I think it's really hard for people to believe for some reason. Like, the mind just really has trouble processing this. And I think once people see it, once those YouTube videos of the early access customers start coming in, people are going to be like, wow, I cannot believe this is real.
How about the few other things that's in the tweet there? Because I think that it gets deceptively cut off, but like a few other things are going to be in this update. And then he tweeted that he liked Fred Sauer's moretesla.com. So we went on there and we looked at the top rated things, and there's some cool stuff that could be coming in this. Like our top 3 that we took away from Fred's was ability to see Sentry Mode footage on the screen or in the Tesla app. Wouldn't that be awesome? And that wouldn't take much coding, right?
So I
Yeah.
actually have some secret info that I heard.
What?
Which
This is secret. No one's watching.
So the secret info that I heard from someone at Tesla was that Tesla is going to start putting a USB key into the car in a USB port that is not user accessible. So there's more USB ports behind the car, like inside, and they're going to start putting their own USB stick and just bundling it in with the car. If the stick is not removable, what does that tell you? Obviously, there's going to be cloud storage and access. And it's interesting, you know, we were talking last week on the podcast about how Ross, you know, is paying for Ring, you know, monthly subscription to save stuff. You know, maybe Tesla's going to have a similar type of thing.
And it's so confusing. And for anyone who isn't used to USB sticks and you know, or apps that have to interface with a thing, like, it's just impossible for, I would say, I wouldn't say most users, because I think Tesla users are pretty savvy, but I think that there are some people, or a lot of people, who don't know how to, like, they don't know what the root folder of a you know, USB stick are, you know.
It's all about that user experience, right? And so
exactly,
it's a small investment for Tesla to make, and it just makes the user experience better. Because I've had people where they're like, "Oh, I got broken into." I'm like, "Oh, do you have the footage?" And they're like, "What footage? What USB drive? Like, I have to do something? Like, it should just be." So you look at it like, how much is a USB drive? Like a basic one, sure, like $20. Maybe if Tesla buys it in bulk, they can get it for like $4 or $5. I don't know, and just put it in every car.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah,
The
so I'm
second-
super
the
excited
sec-
to see what happens. Sorry,
The
go ahead,
second thing
Zach.
on Tesla, moretesla.com is bird's eye view for parking assistance. That's the one that Jesse and I agreed on.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
next.
that would be amazing.
Right. They have the cameras for it.
Yeah. And then third one, display view from the side backward-facing camera when turn signal is engaged to change lanes. That would be cool, too.
That would be awesome.
Like it pops up on the screen with an extra video feed or something.
Yeah.
Something. Anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
just
I
a
love it.
shout out to moretesla.com for people watching. It's a great site to go to put up your wish list and to also see if your idea is already there, and then you can upvote it. Because according to this tweet, it seems like Elon's looking at that site. So a great place to kind of give him a one-stop shop place where he can go to like get ideas for the car that are. It's a little better than Twitter, I would think, in the sense that you get a better idea of what the whole user group wants.
Because it's all in one place.
Right.
It's pretty crazy how the car is just like a blank slate, and Tesla's, and now that they're sort of not resource constrained, it seems like the company's on much better footing. I feel like they have more resources to put into all this stuff. Like you guys are saying, like, did they save this performance upgrade package? Or like, I just think like the cars are getting better that much quickly, and they're just constantly improving and just putting stuff out as they can. There's not like some like much strategy behind it other than do our best and keep releasing stuff. But I think there's been a clear turning point in the past 6 months or year or so where they put a lot more effort into this over-the-air software updates, and it's just, to me, like another example of why I think nobody could compete with Tesla unless it's like Apple or Amazon or Google, or you need to get some sort of technology company involved, because it's really just a computer and these are all software updates. And just the ability where Tesla started from scratch and made everything controllable in the car with software it means it's programmable. Like buttons aren't really programmable, and there's all these different electronic systems when you look at a normal car versus Tesla, which is consolidated all. And so like all this crazy tech at the back end ends up being this amazing like blank slate for whatever their coders and engineers can come up with, and now it's all these cool features. I feel like it's just getting started.
Right. And it's like it's a platform that they built ahead of time. They're like, well, we could probably add a bunch of stuff later. We need to really focus on this production ramp. But when we're all done, programming the robots, we can all come back and put YouTube in the car.
Yeah. And I forgot that my last theory on this is they're working on like I call it Jarvis because that's what Iron Man has, but like an AI assistant in your car, because everything should be programmed with voice. Like you should get into your car and be like, go faster, like I want to go to this restaurant, So I think that's like what's coming in Tesla is like a little hologram pop up like AI like
little R2D2.
Yeah, exactly. Like that kind of thing is coming sooner than people think, and that's also a reason why everything's programmable software is like it enables them to do that. So
right.
I'm waiting for that.
Well, it's like the car has an infrastructure. It's like a modern. Take a modern house. You have wiring in the walls. You have pipes. You have Wi-Fi. If you go back to like a house from the 1800s, there are no, or maybe a little bit further back than that. There's no indoor plumbing. There's no electricity. There's no Wi-Fi. So how could you even begin to do any of the things that you usually do in your house? And all of the cars, pretty much every other car besides Tesla, has no way for any of this stuff to be improved. Just like today, if you wanted to put a ring system on a house that didn't have any electricity or internet access, you'd have to just start from there and then work your way forward, or you'd have to come up with some system that would have to somehow charge itself through some rudimentary system and record the data. And that's what a dash cam is today for most cars. There's no like friendly way to integrate a dash cam into most cars, and most cars don't have cameras that can record to anything. And if they do have cameras, they don't go to anything else. You can't access that information. They're all these separate systems. So I mean, that is such a strong case. And no one ever even brings it up. Like I hardly ever bring it up, and I don't even think. I haven't watched all of your videos, Gally. I'm sorry. You do a lot of videos, but I don't even I haven't even heard you bring that up as a thing. Like that this is a constantly evolving piece of hardware. Hardly gets brought up in the conversation when you're talking to Shorts, because they're not even close to there. They don't even understand that. They're not even at that level.
They probably have never driven a Tesla either. So
exactly, and it's like, how can you talk about that,
Mm-hmm. And I think it's so much more significant than anyone realizes, because if you think about software updates and you think about going back to like the iOS and Android ecosystem, iOS used to get a lot of updates. Update would come out, you get the update, you download it, you use it, right? Whereas Android, you have all these different device manufacturers. So every device has different buttons, different settings, different cameras, different features. The device manufacturers needed to take the Android build and customize it for their device. And I think it's so instructive when you look at cars, and all these cars have different buttons, different features, different knobs that all need to work, right? So because of these buttons and knobs and features, you can't have a unified software platform. You can't have one software platform that the whole company's working on and that's in all their cars. All the cars have slightly different software, and they don't have the resources to make it like this company-wide effort. And when you think about self-driving, the prerequisite for everything, forget about the sensors, the key thing in Tesla's self-driving strategy is the software updates. If you don't have the software updates, you can't put something out and then improve it and improve it and improve it. And the legacy auto guys, they can't do software updates.
They don't want to. Do them. I mean, to your point, they want to come out with the car that's outdated so that in a couple of years you look at your neighbor and you're like, oh damn, I got to buy a new car.
Yes.
That's built into their system.
Exactly. And you look at even like the Jaguar I-Pace, people are bringing their cars into dealerships to install the software update, right? And when you look at how different all their cars are, it's really difficult to have a software update that just works across all the cars. Whereas with Tesla, it's like, everything's on the screen. Even though the Model S and Model X have different aspect ratios, the software platform is essentially the same. The computer is essentially the same. And people just haven't wrapped their minds around this yet. Like, the design of all these cars, all these buttons, the buttons are what makes full self-driving impossible. Because if you have different buttons, you can't update the software easily. And if you can't update the software easily, you can't make the car drive itself. You know?
Agree. Hey, Viv, you were going to say something, and just love to capture your thoughts.
Oh, I was just thinking about how Elon tweeted that he wanted to recruit more video game developers, and so far they've only been porting games. They've not been actually developing games. So I think there is a lot more to come, and I think maybe they could launch something like Apple Arcade and have go more into this whole subscription thing, and charge I don't know, $5 or $10 a month, so you could get more games. Like, some could be included with the car, obviously, maybe 5 or 10 games. And if you want this whole range of games, I think Apple Arcade has more than 100 games. You could subscribe and get these whole games. And I think once it's actually taking off, then it makes sense for Tesla to actually pay more engineers and developers to actually develop these games. The more people subscribe, the more they can spend on making new games. And I think that's exactly Elon's thing. He loves video games so much. I think that's actually going to be a huge deal in the future.
Right.
Didn't they just announce a Tencent gaming deal today? Tencent and WeChat integration? Some more games for the Chinese market? Did anyone read that?
I think they're some online games or something. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I love video games.
I actually read they had multiplayer games between Teslas or something now. I don't know.
I want to see that.
This blog
I can't
post.
wait for that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're at a supercharger, you have a big LAN party with all the cars. I mean, that would be so fun.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But I love
Sorry.
video
Imagine
games.
if you were at the supercharger and you could race other people on beach buggy or something.
It's true.
Just the
That'd be
people who
sweet.
around
all
you
the
or
tires are
something.
going like this.
Yeah.
That'd be
Oh my
sick.
God.
Sorry, Jesse, go for it.
People who love video games don't usually have enough time to play them when they, get out of school or when they have too much stuff to do. And once full self-driving actually happens, and you suddenly have this commute where you could be doing anything, and everyone else is just busy commuting, you could either obviously be getting ahead, like a successful person, or you could be playing video games like you always do. So I think that, that would definitely be, because right now even some people will be, you'll just be driving by them in autopilot and look over and they're, playing some Cookie Crush kind of game on their phone, and you're like, you should really be driving because your car doesn't drive itself, bud. But there's still, people will try to do that. When we have full self-driving, it's going to be oh, I can finally invest some time and money into gaming for the first time in a while because I will have time to do it. It'll be built into my day depending on my commute.
I love it. Very cool. Well, guys, we've been talking for over an hour now, so maybe we should start getting some final thoughts. So Zach and Jesse, do you have any closing thoughts? Any questions for us? I know you had the question on the full self-driving tweet. But any other things you want to mention?
Just how you got Elon to answer your tweet there, freaking right before Christmas.
I know.
Damn it.
Yeah, we need to get you guys on Twitter. Actually, just give us access to the Now You Know channel Twitter account. We'll help you there.
I just want to say for the historical record.
Sorry, go ahead.
Elon announced the release timeline of FSD in a mention to the Third Row Tesla podcast. So
Yeah.
we're part of history now. The historians will review it and be like, Third Row Tesla podcast, what was that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, here are all the
history, but
videos.
some people start listening
do
to
a
all
watch.
episodes.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I think that this is a really cool thing. I was actually really surprised he replied to me, but I did really want to get some attention on the Third Row because we're the community. We represent the community, and we're trying to get the love out there, the Tesla information, and really I poll Twitter and see what people want us to talk about, and I try to integrate that as much as possible. Granted, I didn't really do that much this time, but next time, I mean, I have a long list of things now from the community, so it's great. But yeah, Elon is it's amazing. I remember my first tweet that he replied to was just over a year ago, and it was in reply to the someone had said something about Pokemon. No, actually, that was Elon's reply. I had said, how cool would it be if we could see other Teslas in like the autopilot screen, like in the visualization?
Mm-hmm.
And then he went off on a tangent, like saying, yeah, that sounds really fun. Like maybe it could be like a safe version of Pokemon Go. And that was so cool. So, who knows when that will come, but that's pretty exciting. And then from there, I think once Elon's replied to you one time, we probably show up in the algorithm. I don't know how it works on Twitter, but he probably sees our stuff more frequently than other people. And we're big supporters too, so we're always trying to help the mission.
I think he just loves his customers.
We
he
love him
really
too.
just does listen to the customers.
True.
Like, he listens more than any other CEO of a large public company I can think of to what his customers are saying.
True.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any science to it either, because I've seen people get replies that have 100 followers or whatever, and just right time, right place
Even
as he's
5 or something.
Yeah, as he's scrolling through, and he'll just, if something's a good idea or trigger something for him, he'll just be like, sounds good, cool idea, coming next or whatever like that. So I think that, to what Omar said, no other CEOs are doing that I know of, at least.
And it matters so much to each individual person. I mean, they have that experience now that they feel like, wow, this company cares about me, the CEO cares about me. How do you think that's going to affect every single person they talk to about Tesla? I mean, Tesla is through word of mouth. So now we have this energy permeating through the whole community.
Not only is the CEO listening to me, but I told him something I wanted to see in my car. He said, okay. He went and made that, and then it downloaded to my car, and now my car is like that. It's very powerful. And it's why, so many people have been trying to attack Elon's Twitter, trying to get him in trouble with the SEC, trying to, get him in trouble with lawsuits and things like that, because they want to attack his use of Twitter, which is like, they don't advertise Twitter is, where it's at.
I mean, Flint, Michigan asked him for help, and he said yes. He continues to answer people on Twitter. It's amazing.
The water.
Yeah.
All that stuff. He's a good person, and we want to help that mission. We all want to work together to make this something really amazing. It already is, and it's just going to get better and better. So that's what I want to see. I want to see it succeed and keep going.
But maybe we should start tweeting some other auto CEOs. Mary Barra, just like, hey, Mary, how's it going? On my Bolt, I was hoping if you could, or Herbert Deese and all the rest of the gang, and just see what they're up to, see what they want to start implementing in terms of changes to their cars.
Maybe
That's a good
5%
episode.
boost.
Do that one.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We paid for
Probably
it.
be lucky if you got a response from their administrative assistant using their Twitter account. You'd probably be lucky to get that.
Right.
At Volkswagen, I'd love to drive my $185,000 Taycan for more than 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Thanks. We'll incorporate that into the next version.
Yeah. Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you
guys,
for having us on the show, guys.
Yeah.
We'd love to come back.
It's been such a pleasure. So
It was great.
fun. So we'll have to do it again. So thank you guys. Closing off Thoroughbred Tesla podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Excellent.